Good morning. This is Gaming Perspectives with
Saul.
and Jolene. And today we are talking about Troika.
I believe that's how you say it. It's a Russian word. Troika. Troika. Something like that. So what is Troika? It is an RPG. We were lucky enough to go to a convention over Labor Day. And we played a session of Troika.
Yes, we did.
So I've been reading a lot of stuff about RPGs and stuff, well, for a long time. And I kept coming upon these mentions of Troika. And Troika makes this, what is it? It makes a lot of lists. Like, what is a hidden gem? What is your go-to game that's not D&D or not a big name game? And all these other lists that people make up. Like top 10 this, top 5 this, top 5 that. And Troika is usually mentioned along with other games like Karn and Powered by Apocalypse games, Forged in the Dark, and so on. But I've never really looked into it. In fact, right after we played, I looked in my drive-through RPG account file, and I actually owned it. I had owned the illuminated version of it.
This is shocking.
I must have bought it as a, what do you call those?
A bundle.
A charity bundle. Thank you very little.
And he has bought so many of those that he has repeats.
Well, it doesn't have about repeats, but I had it in my library, PDF library, and I thought it was interesting that it's billed as a low prep to no prep, simple RPG game.
Well, and it is in a way. I mean, you don't have to. You get a character sheet that is pretty much like, I don't know what they call it, like a playbook or something. I would say that what did you call it? I'm sorry, I lost.
Low prep, no prep, simple RPG.
And I would say that is true in the fact that it's like you get a playbook, like a
Yes.
Powered by the Apocalypse playbook, right?
Right.
So you get the character sheet and it has all your skills,
Right.
and everything on it, and all you have to do is roll the, what is it, the number at the top.
So there's the base skill that you roll, which is a
1d6.
No, 1d3.
1d3.
Which is a 6-sided dice divided by 2, and that is plus 6, and that is your base skill. And your base skill you roll for everything. There's no attributes really.
And that's literally the only one you have to roll for your skills, right?
And then there's advanced skills, which are basically just skills in most people's games.
And it's given to you.
And it's given to you based on the template of what character class, template, archetype, whatever term you want to use. I forget what Troika uses, but there's all these templates that they have in the book, and it's just like the Warrior of the Apocalypse, and it has these skills and these belongings. It's a warlock, it's a cleric, and it's a huge number of different kinds of templates, and they tell you what your skills are. Your advanced skills is what this game calls it. Another attribute that's there is luck, and it's basically what you would think in a role-playing game. It's a asset that you can use to save your bacon. It can let you do re-rolls, and there's a variety of things that it does. And the other attribute is stamina, and stamina is also basically your hit points, but also you used it to power your spells, honey, right?
Yes.
You had to use stamina to throw your spells.
Yeah.
Right. And I think you would get all your stamina back if you rested for 8 hours.
I'm not sure we rested at all.
No, we didn't. And we played a very specific Troika game, which I don't know what the name of it was. I'm guessing it's called The Bridge, because the whole world was a bridge, and that we were just traveling on a mission, an adventure, to collect these ingredients for a stew that this farmer needed. Now, when I say bridge, it's literally like a huge bridge, and that is the world. There's nothing off the bridge. The only thing off the bridge is who knows what's off the bridge, and they never come back.
Because if you fall off the bridge, it's a long way down.
Maybe. You don't know, because nobody ever looks. Because you're basically over clouds, and you don't see ground on the ground down. At least that's how it's related. It was related to us. And and that's it. That was the game we played. That was a system, and the system is pretty easy. You roll these. You rolled 2d6, 2d6. You roll 2d6. Add those numbers. You add your base skill, your advanced skill,
And you have to roll under it,
and you have to roll under a target number.
or under or at it, right?
Yeah, correct. And if you are in competition with somebody else, or NPC, or you're fighting with another PC, whatever it is, if there's any kind of competition, like fighting, you do the same thing, but you're trying to get the higher number, and the higher number wins.
Yes.
Correct.
So, but the skills are given to you on your character sheet already,
Right.
With the
You don't
number.
get to pick them.
So when you roll that D3, you get a 1 to 3, and that's all you get to add to it. So
It's a 1d3 plus 3. Let me.
Plus 3.
I have this number here. It's 1d3 plus 3. Now, some people complained. I mean, I looked it up afterwards, after we played, and complained that there was no balance in this game, right? That if you were unlucky enough to roll a 1, then your base skill would be 4, and somebody could have a base skill of 6.
Yes.
Right? If I rolled a 3, plus 3. And that's just the way it is.
And most of my skills I was a troll, shaman, and my skills were like 3, 4, 3.
Yeah.
And then you added the base skill to it. And
somehow, I think, when they make the character templates, the character classes, whatever you want to call them, they try to balance the character out a little bit, because they probably give you, if you have a lot of skills, they're kind of low numbers, but if you have a few skills, those numbers are a little bit higher. Like you had 2s and 3s. I think I only had 1s and 2s.
I only had 3 skills.
And I had more skills than you did. But see, they were sort of balanced, but balancing goes out the window with that original roll. It's like, it reminded me of old D&D or original D&D when you rolled your 3d6 in order for your stats. And if you got stuck with a 3 or 4, too bad. No way, Jose, do you get to re-roll.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I mean, I had to figure out how to do spells with what I had, right?
Right.
And it was a hit or miss whether I would make it or not, because I think my target number was 6. So I had to roll 2d6 and get under.
Yeah, it's pretty tough.
Yeah. Because the one guy who was doing...
Hold on, does that make sense? Because the more dice... Yeah, I don't know.
It didn't matter because everybody was rolling 2d6.
Yeah.
I think it was 6 or 8. I don't remember, but...
That was the target number? Interesting.
Yeah. You have my sheet right there.
I do have your sheet. The character sheet was literally like a 8.5.
Yeah, I got a 4 base, and then my healing was 3. I had 5 skills, but only 1... Oh, no, those are spells. So 7 was the highest that I had. That I had to roll under.
Wow.
I did it. I made it. I managed to do it like 3 times. I hit, or I made the number.
Okay. I don't really remember, what is it, rolling being the big deal.
No, it wasn't.
Right? The big deal was your actions and what you did.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the skills and the things that we did were almost secondary, right, than what you did.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get back to the game. You can carry 12 slots. Very simple. Big things take 2 slots. Little things take 1 slot. Everybody.
Yes.
Your troll might have had extra slots. I don't know if that was on your character sheet.
I don't think so.
There you go. Money is...
It wasn't really money. What was it called?
Provisions.
Provisions, yeah.
And so everything is based on provisions. You buy stuff with provisions. You sell stuff with provisions. You exchange things for provisions. And it's really doesn't mean anything. It kind of reminded me of treasure in The One Ring. It doesn't mean something like, oh, I have 10 gold. It's stuff that's valuable to somebody else, and you guys can trade.
But they just wanted provisions. And I did have special provisions. I had 6 special provisions.
I have no idea what that was. What was it?
I don't know. It says special provisions.
Special provisions. Maybe that meant like times 10 or something because you're a troll.
No, I don't think so.
And it was a very interesting game, and we were what is it? We were charged with finding ingredients to make a magical stew.
And the ingredients, you had to get 3 ingredients,
Was it
right?
3?
I think it was.
It was, what do you call that? The MacGuffin. The ingredients were the MacGuffin. We just went from one place to another place to find or to look where we can find it.
And we kind of, like one of them had to be a magical ingredient.
Yeah,
right?
that was a tough one, or the hard one to find.
But we did, it wasn't that bad. It was like,
No, but it was the last thing we needed to find.
yeah. You just kind of, whatever was around, like I got the candy stuff when we were in the candy section.
And Candyland looked like.
And we used that part as one of the ingredients.
Right, so there's 6 flavors of ingredients. There's dull, sharp, fresh, old, secret, and magic.
Magic, that's what it was.
What counts as an ingredient? And basically we would have to roll to see if it counts as
Yes,
an ingredient.
yeah.
So it's a very off-the-cuff, seemingly, kind of a game. The GM was rolling basically on tables. I don't know because I didn't have the book. But he rolled on, it looked like he was rolling on tables, obviously. And then he would read the section of what that was. Now, I don't know. I always thought it was like list of stuff or what do you call those? Idea prompts, not necessarily a paragraph of what describing what was the next thing that was going to happen. And it seemed like there were longer.
It was what you were going to encounter,
Right?
Basically. So if it said that when we ran into a crack on the bridge and someone rolled, and then we encountered gargoyles,
Right.
But he had to read what that meant, what that
Right.
entailed. But that was more like, if you're doing that game, maybe you should, like if you're running it, maybe you would have read everything. You're not, and it was his first time running that game.
It was his first time running.
So it was interesting because it was supposed to be easy, off the cuff. You roll the die and then you have the encounter. Sometimes that's easier than other times.
Right. The way it's implemented.
Yeah.
So I think in my mind, I envisioned more simple prompts or shorter prompts or whatever you want to call them, like one sentence or even a phrase, like 2 gargoyles. But I think it kind of helps you a little bit when it says 2 gargoyles that are going to extort the people when you try to fly across.
Yeah.
Right.
It said something like that, right?
I'm guessing, right?
Yeah.
And that they won't take no for an answer.
And then then you go with that, right?
Right, you go with that premise.
Of course, nobody in our group wanted to pay the gargoyles.
Of course not.
So it was an interesting dynamic, right? You have to pay to get across, basically. And halfway across, they're extorting you for more.
Right.
So they tell you they'll do it for one provision. Then when you get halfway across, they want another provision.
Or two.
Or 2 or whatever.
They would pick on you to figuring out if you were rich or not, whatever. And I think that part of it went pretty well. The what is it? The interaction between the player and the GM and that. But the problem is that if it's a big description of what is going to take place or what is the problem,
What the
encounter is, then the GM has to stop and read it. And I think that kind of might be a stunted game because then you stop and then you go again. But so I was very surprised that these off the cuff game where you're rolling dice to determine what's in front of you has a big description. That would take a little bit of time for the GM to read. Like I was thinking, you're the one that thought of Dragonbane when.
We were discussing it with Felipe
Right.
and Mike, and the thing is that we're really spoiled with Felipe, and like Mike didn't know, but Felipe, when he rolls on a table, he looks at what it says and then he just makes something. He will make something up of
Right.
what's going to happen, whether it's on that table or not. Like he'll read it and he'll just make something up, right, about that, whatever he read.
Right, and that's what you're supposed to do because in
But
Dragon.
Felipe is really fast at it.
Well, I mean,
And there's not a long description, I guess.
in Dragonbane, it just gives you a short prompt because I actually own Dragonbane, so I've looked at it a little bit. I didn't read the whole adventure or anything, but it tells you to roll on the table, and it tells you, this happens, or this could happen. And
I know you all know this, but I don't like tables. When we were playing the Charlemagne game, what was it called?
A paladin?
a paladin, and there was a table, and I rolled on it, and I killed Jim's
Yeah.
horse,
We all
and
know
I
about
was
the
like,
dead
oh,
horse.
I was like, well,
Not
that's
happy.
not nice.
And he wasn't too happy about it either. I mean, we prized horses as knights, so the not round table, but
That's knights, yeah.
as knights of Charlemagne.
They're part of they're part of what you need, right?
Yeah, that what makes you a knight.
So ever since then, I look at whenever they go, Felipe goes, okay, roll a 12-sided dice, and in Dragonbane, you want to roll low because the higher you roll, the worse the encounter or whatever is going to happen is going to be.
Yeah, that tends to be that way. But the problem, that's not the problem, but the difference is that in Dragonbane, it just gives you a like I said,
A sentence.
3 or 4 word,
Yeah, not
or even if it was a full sentence, that's all it gives you.
Right.
And then you got to come up with the rest, either on the fly or however you want to do it. I think,
So even though it's supposed to be a quick,
yeah,
easy game where the GM doesn't have to come up with the scenario, right?
there's no prep.
That's not supposed to have any prep, right?
Yeah,
What they mean by that isn't necessarily
easy.
it's not easy to, I got to glance at this paragraph and see what it's telling me.
Right.
Or if you have read it, but then you would have to read everything that could possibly be there, or roll
every
it
result
ahead of the time.
Yeah. And I think these charts were very big.
Yeah.
I don't know how many dice he was rolling. I think he was rolling 2d6.
It was a very interesting though, to see how it played out.
Right. And I think this game works really well with GMs that are really quick thinking, right? They just, they read something, okay, I know what's going on, and just keep going. Like Felipe, like you said about Felipe, that he makes it look simple, or that there's no pause between what he's rolling and what we're encountering. Sometimes I can tell because I am a GM after all, a very experienced one. So I can tell, like, sometimes when somebody hesitates, there's a reason why people hesitate. The reason I hesitate is sometimes I have to look at my notes, or I have to think about the consequences of what I'm saying, especially if people, this is part of role playing, right? When people ask me a question that I don't have any idea of how to answer it, right? Because I hadn't thought that they might ask this question. Now, prompts would work the same way. If I roll on this table and the prompt tells me something like 2 squirrels attack, I'm like, I might have a problem with that, but also if I was a real quick thinking GM, I would have no problem, making this into some sort of a comedy, Alvin and Chipmunks adventure thing encounter. But other people might go, I don't understand. How are chipmunks going to attack people in armor or whatever?
Well, I can tell you this, that if you are at a rest area and you throw out sunflower seeds, the squirrels will appear, because I saw this recently.
Yes.
And I was like, that's interesting. Why are all those squirrels swarming around those people? I'm like, and Saul's all, they must be feeding them something.
Yeah, I thought it was bread, but it turned out to be seeds.
It was sunflower seeds, and that's what you're talking about, right? 2 squirrels attack. So in your brain, you go, "Oh, I've seen that before." So somebody's throwing out something, and the squirrels go,
Yeah.
"I want all of that," and they attack them.
Right. You have more, obviously, in your pocket.
Yes, you must have more.
Or in your hand. I'll just take it out of your hand. You know what? I see all those other ones in your hand. I'd rather go for that. So you're right. So I think Troika is really good for people who, especially GMs, who are quick on their feet and can act and react very quickly.
And that would have to do with just running it several times, right?
Well, I mean, I think those kind of GMs, it's a skill that you can, what is it? You can get better at. Like any skill.
Yeah.
You just got to work that brain muscle of reacting quicker. It's like people who take improv classes, right? When they first start, they probably suck at improv, whatever that means, whatever that entails. And then as they go and do it more and more often, they become used to thinking on their feet and on going on whatever their partner is saying, right? Well, we went to Comedy Sports, and they have that improv thing, right? Where they get the name, somebody give me a name, and then they go, somebody give me a thing, and somebody give me an action. And they use that for the next comedy skit, and they're all improvising and trying to make it funny. So in this case, we're not necessarily trying to make it funny. The GM is trying to run an adventure. And I think the only thing that could help me in that sense is if I was looking at the chart and I pre-rolled everything. That way I could, especially if it was like more than one sentence. If it was something I needed to read, like a paragraph or a page, then I would re-roll ahead of time and then have those ideas in my head ready to go. And even if I sort of cheated and rolled the dice behind the screen and said, "Oh, this is what it is," and really,
Well, nobody knows what the numbers on the chart
right,
are,
right,
so.
right. But if everything's pre-planned, then it makes it easier for you to describe what's going on and not have to slow down the game. And then by you reading,
But the advertisement or the way they portray the game could be make a GM that's running it think that, oh, you just roll on the table and it tells you, so they may not look into exactly how much they have to read.
right, and how much they have to come up with. I think that's the key is that,
Because I would call that false advertising. That
well, it's
you
not
just roll
false
on it.
advertising. There's no prep.
Right.
There really is no prep, more or less, or very low prep. And the very low prep could be you already know, you've read all the adventure seeds and go, I have an idea what it is. Or you pre-roll everything, and I already have those ideas in your head. So when you come to that encounter, you already have it ready to go. Well, you may not have everything ready to go, but you have an idea what's going to happen.
Of what's going to happen.
Right.
I thought
So-
that was a very interesting. I like the system in that respect. It was a 2D6 system. The tables were okay for tables.
What'd you think of the damage chart? Because a damage die roll is a 1d6. Now, it's just not 1 through 3 damage. What happens is there's a little chart. Every weapon has a table, which I know you like.
Yeah, you
There's
know
a table right
I
there.
love those tables.
So-
I can't read that currently.
Okay, so we have a little table here. That's on the, I forget, they're like cheat sheets. And for example, a sword, if you roll a 1, it's 4 points of damage. A 2 is 6, a 3 is 6, a 4 is 6, a 5 is 6, a 6 is 8.
I didn't mind the chart. I mean, for damage. I mean, that's it. You roll the die, you get something, and it tells you how much damage you do.
Right, and then an axe would be 2.
Well, and they do that. I think they do that so that you're just rolling a D6.
D6, right.
You don't have to have any polyhedrals.
But I also like the fact that like a sword is going to naturally do more damage than a club or a knife or a punch. So if you roll a 1 for a sword, you do 4 damage. But if you roll a 1 for an axe, it's 2. And so all these weapons have different little charts, and some are obviously do more damage than another. And I thought it was pretty neat. I thought it was pretty nifty.
Well, before you just get to the damage, there's the combat mechanic, right? That you throw the chits, 2 chits for each player.
initiative
put in
system.
there. Yeah, and instead of rolling dice, the GM just picks the chits out of the thing.
Yes.
Out of a bag, basically, or a cup or whatever. And you also put in 1 throw for each of the monsters, I guess,
Right.
Or however many monsters there are, times 2 or whatever. Or
I don't know if it's 2. I think it might be 1. And the characters is 2. And there's a chip, or whatever you want to use, that represents the end of the round. So this is another what is it? Sore point for some players that like balance, right? It's all about balance. And I think these people who like balance are usually people who are like into crunchy games, right? Because crunch gives you that idea of action and reaction. So when people are playing those crunchy games, usually a big deal is balance. But the problem with, not the problem, but the issue with Troika is that when you're putting chips into a bag and you're pulling chips, and they each have the number of the player or the name of the player or the character, however you want to do it. Sometimes your character's may not get picked at every a turn, because the chip that ends the turn is picked, and then you put all the chips back in the bag, and only the chip that is taken out of the bag gets to react or act. And I think that might upset people because just by pure luck, your character doesn't get to do anything for a couple turns. And if it's a short battle or a situation, then they may not get to act. And that's just the way the game is set up. It's like this quirky, unbalanced, seat of your pants kind of game. And for some people,
they feel that's not
it's not fair or not balanced or it's just not their cup of tea. And I can see
But some
that.
people said that you might get to act once, you might get to act twice, you might not get to act at all.
Right.
But it takes out the analysis paralysis of what you're
Yes,
going to do,
yes, that
or
does happen.
when the plan
The
for the
plan.
team, right?
And I think that does break up that plan mentality, right? That you can take your time and plan something. You're going to do this, you're going to do that, you're going to do that. And then the sweeper comes in and takes everybody off their feet. That kind of planning that happens. And that's not for everybody, right? A lot of people like that, and a lot of people wouldn't care for this. Maybe I get to act in this turn, or maybe I won't.
Right.
So I totally forgot about that aspect of the game is the initiative. So I think this game has an interesting history because it's based on this other person's game called Advanced Fighting Fantasy, and that is based on an old game, actually a series of books called Fighting Fantasy Adventure Books, which was by Steve Jackson Games and Ian Livingstone. Steve Jackson and Ian Livingstone kind of like choose your own adventure books. I'm very acquainted with those books as a kid. But around 1982, which was I was already playing D&D by that time, they came out with Fighting Fantasy series of books. And in this case, you have a relatively small character sheet, very simple system of 2d6 and plus all these little modifiers, and it has like over 50 books that they came out with and they published from 1982 to I don't know when they stopped publishing, probably in the late 90s. And then Steve Jackson, somewhere along the lines, decided just to print the rules called Fighting Fantasy. Just the rules, no adventure book, no nothing. And then this guy called Graham Bottomley, he decided, well, I like these rules. I grew up with reading these books. He was very excited about them. And what's funny is that I had no knowledge of these books, no knowledge of this system at all. And again, it was probably because I was already playing D&D and by this time, I think he came out with a system in 2011 where he used his homebrew system based on Fighting Fantasy, and he came out with Advanced Fighting Fantasy. And then Troika comes along, or the makers of Troika, and they go, oh, let's just use something this simple game, and then they make this weird, chaotic. They build it as a science fantasy game because in the original game, you are in this science fantasy world and you're going through portals to go through other worlds, dimensions, alternate time realities, whatever you want to call it, and you are doing all these things, and that's what the game is about. So that's why you have all these various different types of characters, classes or templates interacting with each other, which I thought it was pretty interesting.
It was very interesting. The characters were definitely different than
Yes. You
any
were
normal ones.
a troll shaman. I was goblins in a overcoat. And when I read that, I read goblins because that's just the way my
And
brain.
he's like thinking he's 3 goblins and he's like 200 goblins, little people.
Yeah, I thought it was 3 goblins. I thought that would be funny, but it said goblins, which are little people, 3 inches high, and there's hundreds of me inside this raincoat, and and it totally changed my
What you do,
perception
yeah.
of what I could do or what I wanted to do, and I thought it was interesting. Again, the character classes, if you want to call them that, are very, very crazy. If I want to use that word, chaotic, and very unusual. So, what do we think? I think they are simple rules. It's pretty easy to pick up. It's pretty easy to play. There's not a lot of number crunching. So, as far as that is concerned, I think they filled the bill. Is it low prep or no prep? I don't think it's a no prep game. And it could be low prep if you do the dice ahead of time. And that way it is this random thing that you have to put together into an adventure. And I think that's what makes it interesting as a GM, trying to come up with these sometimes very different things happening and trying to piece them together to make a cohesive adventure.
I think the game that we played in was like a supplement, right?
Yes.
Or
An expansion.
an expansion, right?
It was called the Bridge.
Yeah.
Right. In the normal game, you're playing in a regular world, universe.
So there must be scenarios.
There's scenario
that are-
packs, books,
Yeah.
and each of them take on, like this one, it was about that bridge
Right.
that's everybody lived on.
Are all of them about making a soup?
No, I don't think
Okay.
so. I think
Because it
that
was very interesting. That was an interesting goal, right?
no, I mean it's whatever the GM wants to come up with. In this case, the bridge supplement was this
About-
kind of game,
yeah.
right? You're just going out trying to make stews or magic potions, and you need certain ingredients. Is it low prep, no prep? I don't know. It depends on how you're wired. Your brain is wired as a GM. It can be, but I think no prep. I don't think it is no prep, but it's very low prep if you can handle it.
Yeah.
Adventurous players. I think you need adventurous players for this. You don't want players who are so used to D&D or so used to a crunchier game system that they feel out of place with the chaoticness of the way this game moves, especially with the initiative chips and your character not being able to act on every turn or not knowing when you're going to act. Like everybody rolls for initiative. Okay, I'm the fourth person to act, or I'm the last one to act, or whatever. In this case, you may not even act, and you don't even know. Somebody may be doing something over here, somebody else may be doing something over. So you're right. That kind of eliminates this whole idea of having this attack plan when the fighting starts and when things start getting chaotic. So that's not for everybody. In fact, we had a friend with us who loves D&D, been playing D&D forever, and he felt a little not out of sorts. What was it? It was not his cup of tea.
Yeah.
And
it was a little
he goes, I don't know what to do in this.
too many tables, not enough action. But there was plenty of action. It was interesting, especially there were 6 people at the table?
6.
So
7.
6 or 7, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you had to wait for your number to get called to come out of the bag to be able to
Right.
to do
You
it.
could be real antsy. You could be the best fighter, and if your chip or number doesn't come out of the bag,
If everybody else has to go before you, then or you're the last person to go, or you don't get to go on that turn, then you don't get to do any action.
right? Campaign wise, I could see this as an excellent one shot, even a very short adventure type of games. A long campaign. A lot of people who like playing long campaigns also like character advancement. I'm not sure there's a lot of character advancement.
There's
in this
not.
game.
I read that it's basically just 1 point on a stat or something like that. There's not like a
Right. It's
a
very
lot of
slow advancement. And I don't know if I could run or want to play in a 6-month campaign of Troika. I might be able to. I don't know. But I've never tried to play a campaign that long or a long campaign with such an easy system or a simple system that really isn't geared toward players advancing and getting tougher and tougher.
Yeah.
I did run Space Opera. There was absolutely no character advancement. Well, you could get better at skills only through learning and studying.
The same way with Shadowrun is that.
It takes a long time.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So in the end, I think this is a good, simple, easy to jump in RPG, and would play it again, no problem. But I don't think it's a big, long campaign style game for me.
I thought it was fun. It was
yeah.
It was very interesting to see and to play in a system that I hadn't played in before.
Right, and it's very unlike any other system we played. I mean, the closest thing you can think of is maybe 2D6 is reminiscent of Traveler or anything Traveler-like, but
it was nothing like Traveler.
But it wasn't like Traveler or like Liminal or any of those
Yeah.
traditional role-playing games because it aims at being spontaneous in a certain sense.
Yeah. Sometimes spontaneous is harder than you would think.
That's it, and you're right. It is harder because, like I said, you as a GM and even as players, right? You have to think on the fly as to what you're going to do when a crazy situation happens. Especially if you're just rolling on the table, and the table can
Give
be
you
anything. Anything.
Yeah. So that's cool. I think that you should play it if you get a chance, and if it sounds interesting to you, you might want to try it before you buy it. Buy
buy
to
a
get into
PDF.
a game
PDFs are easy to get. Like I said, I got this on a charity bundle
So it's obviously on Drive Through RPG.
It's obviously on
or
Drive
somewhere
Thru
else.
RPG.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there you go. This is Gaming Perspectives with
Saul,
Angeline.
and you have a good day.